June 26th, 2015.
In one of the most anticipated decisions of the year, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of same-sex marriage. This means same-sex marriage is legal across the country, and the states with bans in place have to reverse course.
What do we have? Equality! When did we get it?
Now! If tomorrow all my rights were gone, I've hoped for again and again, and I had to start with nothing. Just my children and my husband. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for equal freedoms, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I'm finally free to marry who I want to marry and flip off all bigotry. But I gladly stand up next to you and defend my rights today. 'Cause for today at least, I love this land. God bless the USA.
This is Infants on Thrones, the philosophies of men mingled with humor. We are the core.
Welcome back to Infants on Thrones. I'm Glenn Ostland, and today, in commemoration and celebration of the Supreme Court's historic decision legalizing marriage for everyone, we're going to release a Smackdown that we recorded about a month ago. Now, this came from a listener who asked us to tackle a Meridian Magazine article that was just, well, stupid. So we did. And you should also know that this discussion came on the heels of another listener calling Randy out on his over-frequent use of the word obfuscate, which we've been having a bit of fun with over the past few weeks, if you've been paying attention. So we planned to release this on Sunday, but since the Supreme Court decision came today, and since this was ready, here you go. It's myself, Randy, Matt, Jake, and John together again for this epic, historic, gay bigotry smackdown.
That's where you started. Right. Some Chewbacca stuff, some laser blasts.
It's pretty good, Chewie. I didn't enable audio, did I? Shit.
Yeah, I hear you.
Video, yeah.
Oh,
Video.
I mean, video. Oh, there we go.
Okay. So, tonight we are smacking down a Meridian article that was written by Wendy Assay on May 10th, 2015.
I'm going with assay.
I'm going with Assy.
Assay?
Assay.
Assay.
And it's called, How Will Children Know the Truth About Marriage If We Don't Teach Them?
Won't somebody please think about the children?
How will they know?
Can we just all agree that this entire article is one big obfuscation of the entire...
It obfuscates the issues, is what
issue.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, this whole obfuscation obfuscates everything.
Why do you keep saying obfuscation so
I don't know, because it's just
frequently?
such an apt word.
Are you going for female arousal?
No, I'm going for fuck you.
Oh, me?
Not you.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just the general view.
The general view.
The
Or Wendy Assay.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
try to obfuscate my intentions.
All right. Gotcha. We shall not. All right. So let's just jump into this because Randy's got an early day tomorrow.
Yes, I do.
And
Yes.
Matt, was there some background on this that you wanted to lead into with somebody on Facebook requested that we do this?
Yeah, we just got a call on Facebook. The infants, please smack this down. And I read it, and I think, yeah, it definitely is worthy of a smackdown. Almost just sets it up real. It's like a softball, like an underhand pitch softball. So why not take an easy swing?
All right. And maybe we should note that this is the second podcast that we're doing as a video podcast because we recorded using video. Are you going to mention that, Jake, when you do the edits on Aggie Land?
Yeah, I'm planning on doing that. In the intro, I'll probably mention something.
Because we referenced it a couple of times, but it didn't actually record, so we couldn't provide the video. This one, I think the video will work, and maybe we'll be able to make it available, but we'll see. All right.
In case we can.
So who wants to start off with...
We'll censor that. We'll edit those out. We'll censor those out.
We can edit everything.
You have no idea what his fingers are doing right there.
It's one of my favorite South Park songs, Finger Bang. All right. This article is just... It's only eclipsed by how bad it is, by how long it is. Because I really wanted to hear how excited John Hamer is to go through this.
You invited John on this just to be...
Oh, no, he's back.
Godzilla?
Back. Hey, John.
Yeah.
Now that you're back, how excited are you to do this SmackDown?
Not at all.
But why?
It's stupid.
He bought a print copy of Meridian just so he could step on it.
I wish I had one. I don't have one. The magazine wishes that what I would do is step on it.
What you would really do.
But give me a link to the thing again. I already deleted it and blocked the website from.
He burned the computer that he looked at it on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was in the library, so.
The only thing I don't like about doing a SmackDown on Meridian anymore is it almost feels like beating up the retarded kid in the playground.
I'm not retarded. I'm special.
All right, so did you already read the title?
Yeah. In a funny voice that Tom would approve of.
Okay. I'll start with the first paragraph. A few months ago, an LDS... do I have to do it in a female voice since it's Wendy? No.
Yes.
No.
A few months ago,
An LDS stake high counselor was attending a class with the young women in a ward he was visiting. They were discussing same-sex attraction and gay marriage. The young woman...
Okay, we should stop right there.
We can't, dude. This is long.
I know, but there is no... So already...
No, they weren't.
Make as a point this thing that Mormon leaders have done in creating this Orwellian speak of saying SSA and same-sex attraction. Already just even using that construct means you're a bigot. So
Really?
Yeah.
Same-sex attraction means you're a bigot?
Yeah, because what they're doing there is saying, what Mormons are saying is there's no such thing as sexual orientation. There's no such thing as being gay. There is merely this thing where you are maybe a little attracted or whatever it is, but it's like, wanting to go gamble or something,
Or wanting to fornicate or
so.
Wait,
So what they were discussing was sexual orientation and marriage equality.
See, I am like all kinds of bigot and sexist and racist because I'm sure I use the wrong terms all the time.
This is an Orwellian Mormon term. Mormons make this SSA thing. This is from Mormons. This isn't a general thing.
Right.
So if I Google same-sex attraction, I'm not going to find that anywhere except in a Mormon-sourced document.
Well, the only reason to call something, when people call something a same-sex attraction, it's almost exclusively in a religious context. And it's because they want to deny the fact that they don't want to acknowledge that this can be an identity. It's a condition that you have.
I think John's right. I think this is a uniquely Mormon term that's been coined by the church. It may have been adopted by other people, but it's been coined and obfuscated by the church.
I don't know. There's a website, Today's Christian Women, that talks about same-sex attraction.
I see. I mean, there's a lot of same-sex attraction. Like that term or using that rhetorical device is common among a lot of the Christian right. So, it's not. I don't think it's unique to Mormons. But yeah, go ahead.
It comes
There's
up.
A lot of Mormon stuff here.
LDS.org comes up second on Google for me under it. But anyway, the main point is, yes, maybe there are other right-wing fundamentalist partners that they are politically in bed with.
Go ahead and just move up a little bit to the left. That's it. Great.
All with them on this thing. But I'm just saying that already all by itself is a flag. You know what you're talking about when you're seeing.
I didn't think we could use that term.
So they have same bigotry attraction.
This will come up later.
All right.
Keep going,
Randy.
All right. The young women leaders were being very tentative and vague as they discussed the topic because they were concerned about offending one particular young woman, this annoying young woman.
It would have been my daughter if my daughter still went to...
No doubt. The High Counselor watched as the young women grew more and more conflicted and confused. Finally, he spoke up and stated, "Let me clarify some things for you." He went on to explain clearly and unapologetically that while having same-sex attraction is not a sin, acting on it is. He told them sin is sin and is unacceptable in the eyes of God. When he finished, one of the young women spoke up and thanked him.
I bet it wasn't the same young woman they were trying to be sensitive toward.
No. She told him, it was one of the low-hanging fruit young women. She told him that the youth are getting so many confusing messages about same-sex attraction and gay marriage that it has become a real challenge for them. She told him that as he was speaking, the Spirit confirmed the truth of what he said to her. Period.
Well, I like that it's a real challenge for them. You know, when you're advocating from a position of weakness, it's really difficult to advance that position. And so this has been very difficult for us, Mr. High Counselor person.
It's really hard to hold the position that black people are inferior. Try to hold that position anymore.
No. I'm not going to.
You're not going to whisper that?
No.
You're not going to whisper that for us, Glenn?
Nah. No.
All right, fine. We'll let it go.
No.
But I mean, it's a good point, Matt. I mean, when you are wrong and you don't have any evidence to back up what you're saying, you just really feel like you're right. It becomes really difficult to you have to like almost get white knuckle grip on your cherished belief or whatever it is that you're trying to
white knuckle grip on
defend. Yeah.
Iron rod.
So the only sin that is routinely associated with homosexuality is bigotry against homosexuals, and this High Counselor is in a condition of abject sin. Unacceptable in the eyes of God. That's right.
I like how they talked about they were trying to, you know, they were concerned about offending one particular young woman who never came up later. I mean, it's not like, you know, the resolution of her story is really not important here.
It's irrelevant.
The one, yeah, because they didn't say the same young woman. I'm pretty sure that if this actually took place, it was probably a different young woman than the one that they were concerned about offending. I bet the one they were concerned about offending was like, not pleased with the whole thing. But whatever. 99. Let the one go. That's what Jesus said.
Randy, are you trying to hide your vapor?
Yeah, I'm going off screen.
Going off screen to vape? Are you obfuscating your vapor use, Randy?
I'm obfuscating my vapor use.
Yeah.
You sorority girl, I love it.
All right. Who's next one? Who will follow Randy?
I'll follow Randy.
All right.
Today's youth are confronted with many conflicting messages about same-sex attraction and gay marriage. What they hear from music, the media, and from school doesn't always mesh with what they're being taught in church. This can leave them feeling confused and even angry. As parents, we have the responsibility to guide them through their confusion. They need help sorting through activist claims about same-sex attraction. They need to know how society's definitions of fairness and tolerance and equality relate to Christ's teachings about love. They also need to understand the impact gay marriage will have on individuals, families, and society. If we fail to teach our children why natural marriage is the new
natural marriage.
What the fuck is that?
Those of you with stepchildren that are in a mixed marriage that have adopted children, go fuck yourselves. You're not in a natural.
No. Natural marriage is the marriage that just happens organically. You just wake up one day and you're next to somebody, you're married to them because it just naturally happens.
Right. It's like a wet dream.
Yeah.
So that's something that's taught in biology class, like natural selection. Natural marriage.
Natural marriage.
The natural marriage is an enemy to God? Same-sex attraction? No.
Right. If we fail to teach our children why natural marriage and family are essential, they will only hear what the world is saying to them. They need to hear our voices. The Spirit can only testify of the truth to them if they hear it.
See, they used to try to go with we're pro-marriage, and they realized that is the opposite of what they are, so they embraced the we're pro-natural marriage. So that was a rhetorical thing they went through this year.
Well, it's also an implication that homosexuality is completely an unnatural thing.
Like interracial marriage, right?
Yeah. It's against the very laws of nature.
But it's weirdly common. I mean, it's like really common in the animal kingdom. Like it's not. I mean, what is your definition of natural? I don't know.
I don't know about marriage, but
marriage isn't a natural phenomenon at all.
It's a construct. It's a complete
legal thing. I mean,
contract.
And like you say, biologically, it's every kind is stupid, and so as they're. All these poor kids that are getting these conflicting messages because every single thing they're hearing from society and everywhere and all the real sources are telling them one thing, which is right, and then we are saying something stupid, and so now they're confused. Who's at fault?
Yeah, they created the conflict.
Is it everything? Is it everything in all of society and every other, all sources of information and knowledge and everything like that? Or is it our stupidity that's fault? I mean, the blame here is very clear.
And they have to put words like fairness and tolerance and equality in air quotes because
those are bad, obviously.
Yeah,
those are bad. Nobody in society is like having all of these values. Fairness,
society has made good things bad. They've made good things bad, and that's they used to be good things. Tolerance is good, equality is good, but not how society now terms it.
Yeah. Fairness and tolerance and equality can't just be good.
How are they in favor of equality in any way?
Right. As I used to say,
in other words, how is the Mormon Church in favor of equality? In other words, if there's a good kind of Mormon equality, or how is there's no equality.
Well, and
there is
fairness.
Actually.
How can you have something that's just too fair? I'm all for fairness, but there are just some things that are just too fair. Let's not go crazy with our fairness.
But there is Mormon equality, but it's once you're in the temple. And you're sitting on one side and your wife is sitting on the other side, and everyone's equally ridiculous in their baker hats.
We are
I think
all equally.
The women are in a different situation there, though. It's equally ridiculous, but it's...
I was making a joke. What I mean is that, like, the TBM whisperer answer for me going back would be that, equality is available to everyone who'll just live by the commandments that have been given, to just follow the gospel, and then everybody has equality. But these people want to have equality and make up their own rules. They want fairness and tolerance, but to make up their own rules? No, you got to obey what Christ says. And Christ says gay people are bad.
I'm saying, though, that there is no actual function. Anyway, this is too much to talk about. We're going to get equality. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. See how confusing it gets?
Look,
no, it's not confusing at all. It's stupid.
I understand this is low-hanging fruit, but it's low-hanging fruit, so it needs to be hit. That any Mormon has the gall to talk about whatever fucking natural marriage is without acknowledging or at least trying to explain polygamy, you lose all credibility, and fuck you very much until you do that. Don't just set that aside and say, oh, that doesn't exist, and say there's only one form of marriage, and that's one man, one woman, when you all were the first people here in kind of modern America to really try to test the limits of alternative marriages. Yeah. Fucks.
Well, hey, look, Matt, that was a restoration of a law that God established, and God says when it's okay to do polygamy and when it's not okay to do polygamy. And if God was the one that was saying that same-sex marriage is okay, then we'd be all for it. But it's not coming from God. It's not coming from God.
Yes, God has already said it's okay. DNC 164. There you go. Boom.
DNC 164 talks about gay marriage. Yeah, that's the same-sex attraction verse. I don't remember that from my scripture mastery.
My DNC doesn't go up that high.
Maybe your DNC didn't get there. Maybe
we didn't get the message.
Maybe you haven't had any continuing revelation ever since
God
1910 or something.
Yeah, I think God cut our mic. That's what happened.
Yeah, not since 1978, John. That was our last revelation.
That's an official declaration.
That's not a section. Our last section is 138, and so we've had official declarations that are really lame.
I mean, if you want to count official declarations, you got the Proclamation on the Family, which can be official declaration number 3.
Yeah, but they don't have the balls to canonize it. What is up with the modern church? They have no balls.
But they call it revelation, man. They have kind of shoehorned that in and said that is the most recent modern revelation. They do it all the time.
Right, when it was just a document drawn up by their lawyers so that they would be able to have a thing so that they could get in on the Hawaii gay marriage debate. So it's not like it's a policy statement drafted by their lawyers.
So can I just comment on the very last line? The Spirit can only testify of the truth to them if they hear it. So how impotent is the Spirit? He can't just put thoughts into your head and then make you feel warm about them. He needs someone with authority to tell you something, and then you feel good about it. I don't know. I just thought that was lame.
There's so many problems with that sentence. There really are.
It's like Inception, man. It has to come from you. Otherwise
they're fucked.
Right. Yeah. He has to incept you. The Spirit is like Leonardo DiCaprio.
King of the world!
Okay. Let's canonize that line there.
Right, exactly.
He's aged really badly and gotten overweight.
Overweight. Right. Oh, John Hamer's not a fan of dad bod. I'm not surprised.
All right, I'll read the next paragraph. And this is another one of these probably BS anecdotal stories that she puts in just to try and get some kind of quasi-evidence. One family's commitment to be more proactive in teaching their children was sparked when their teenage son came to them with concerns about conversations he had had with friends at school. They had been discussing political issues of the day, including gay marriage. The parents hadn't personally faced many of the questions their son asked and didn't know how to answer. They had questions of their own regarding gay marriage, such as, what harm would it be to legally recognize these relationships? What are the consequences to society of the gay rights agenda?
Agenda.
Yeah, I'm sure they asked that question in this hypothetical one family's commitment. This is probably exactly what went through their head. Way to go, assay. Don't same-sex attracted people also deserve to be in a relationship that brings them happiness? What is marriage, and why does it matter to society? It's not like I'm just trying to use this as a rhetorical device to set up the structure for what's coming next. This really was one family's experience. I added that last part at the end.
Well, the thing is, I mean, these are all really good questions. I think that these are great questions to start, to start breaking down the issue. These are the questions that I started with when I was kind of coming to terms with gay marriage after my mission, because I never really considered. I mean, it was never something I really took seriously before. And these are the questions that I asked myself. I think, inherently these are good questions to be asking. It's just we'll see how they deal with them.
Except for that they're phrased as an Orwellian using Orwellian hate language. So again,
that's true.
Gay rights agenda.
So again, yeah, of course. Or don't same-sex attracted people. What is a same-sex attracted people? So again, so what harm could it be to legally recognize these relationships? What are the consequences to society of equal rights for all human beings?
Instead of the gay rights agenda?
Don't people of all sexual orientations also be able to deserve to be in relationships that bring them happiness? So that's right. That's how that's being phrased.
Oh, okay. So you're saying like these kind of subtle,
so in other words, don't
rhetorical
differences. People again. They're not. It's aren't people who are suffering from this thing that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't so in other words, they're already setting it up with their stupid framing. Of course.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to to answer these questions because I think there's a really clear example of why it matters to society to have marriage, at least, and have those rules and those rights very well defined.
Well, before I forget about it, I got to bring this up because this atheist friend of ours on the Phoenix Open Mormon, an atheist who's anti-gay marriage, Matt and I, especially, but particularly me, because Matt did a hit and run and then disappeared.
I said everything I had to say. I dropped my mic.
Drop your mic and abandon your friend. But I didn't really need your help. I'm trying to be respectful. He put forward the argument, okay, but besides using the argument from antiquity, how come gay marriage has never been legalized before? Well, first of all, that's false. It's been legalized in many countries by now. But he said, well, what about in ancient Greece? Not apparently, but in ancient Greece, it was a social practice to have 10-year-old boys, or maybe adolescent boys, were kind of like apprentices to some prominent figures in society, like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and these relationships often had sexual elements to them. And so he was saying they obviously normalized homosexuality. Why didn't they legalize gay marriage?
Right. Well, so what's the point? So why wouldn't a society that isn't concerned so much about same-sex activity, why wouldn't they have had marriage between men? And the answer is that because in the past, men are the only people. So men are the only people that are actually legal individuals. Marriage, in traditional marriage, natural marriage, or whatever throughout all of history, is that a man is giving his property, which is to say his daughter, to another man who becomes the other man's property. And so women aren't people, women are property. And marriage is about transfer of that property. And you can't have, even if you're having two guys that are in love with each other, having sex with each other, whatever, they can't. The only situation where there's a property situation is if one of the guys is a slave. So, that's why there wouldn't be marriage, because marriage was about subjecting one person to the other person's authority. There's only one legal individual. That's why women weren't allowed to vote, because they're just part of the household, and the household is run by the guy. The guy gets a vote. That's why the women didn't need a vote, because she's merely part of the household. She's an adjunct to it. That's traditional marriage.
Gay marriage wasn't even like a thing. It wasn't even something that was on the radar. So to compare us to ancient Greece is just so stupid. Anyway.
That's the biggest lie.
Yeah.
But didn't homosexuality bring about the end of the Roman Empire?
Right.
A little bit. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Romans, they were doing pretty good. They're doing pretty good. And then the gays, and that was
not according to Brigham Young. It was
monogamy.
Monogamy. Yeah.
According to Gibbon, it was Christianity. So there you go. Here, the empire had been this wonderful, pagan thing where everybody was having their gay orgies, and suddenly they all converted to Christianity, and then boom, it fell.
Right, because there's no fun anymore.
Right. There you go.
All right, next paragraph.
The parents began a concerted effort to learn what they could about the issues. They read books and attended events that focused on the family. That sounds very two-sided. That's great.
Very balanced.
Then they organized a series of family home evenings with their extended family, 8 families in all, to teach their children the newfound information. During the meetings, they addressed different issues related to same-sex attraction and gay marriage using a family, a proclamation of the world as their guide. Man, that sounds fantastic. That's a way to get at truth.
That's the new information that they hadn't encountered before? Wow.
Yeah, this newfound information. It's interesting that they said they read about the issues, but it's obvious what the conclusion was drawn. It doesn't actually discuss any of the issues they read or why they cited on why they answered the questions in one way versus another. It was just kind of they studied, and what they came. You know what the answer is.
Yeah, we painted the target around the arrow.
Yeah.
There's nothing. The family, a proclamation to the world, is such banal tripe. There's nothing in there.
It obfuscates the real issues, really.
It doesn't even obfuscate, because obfuscate has a different meaning where you actually throw a bunch of shit on the wall to try to confuse the person that's trying to figure out what's going on.
It's DNC 164 that's obfuscating the proclamation on the family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The proclamation of the world says nothing about gay marriage, except for maybe one indirect thing that marriage is between a man and a woman. Period.
Gender roles are eternal.
So they had this meeting, and they studied a proclamation of the world and found all the answers to all the hard questions that we talked about before.
Oh,
that's bullshit.
Don't get so bent out of shape, Randy. It wasn't even a real family. This didn't happen. This didn't even happen.
So is Assay a liar? Assay?
Yes. Yeah, she is.
Anyways,
fucking liar.
Yeah. But it's in the interest of getting to the truth. So it's the Paul H. Dunn style of communicating.
And I should say that later on in the article, she talks about the specific answers to the questions more specifically. So I shouldn't say that they're dismissed, but they're kind of dismissed here.
They're dismissed in this paragraph.
She's just in her. She's still in an introduction.
Right. We're still setting it up.
We're the ones that are 33 minutes into this thing.
Right, exactly.
I know. Yeah, it's true. It's all part of it. Yeah, okay. All right. I think it's John, you up.
The experience was life-changing for them. They had no idea how emotional the discussions would be for their children who were dealing with the issue every day. Most of their children knew someone who was struggling with their personal identity, and they were bothered by thoughtless and insensitive comments directed at them.
These guys are so kind. See how really tall this is Christ-like tolerance.
Had strong opinions and had challenging questions as they sought help in dealing with their own personal confusion. As the lessons progressed, the parents grew in knowledge and confidence in addressing the difficult issues. They were able to help their children come to terms with the issues and internalize truths espoused in the proclamation on the family.
Well done. I like that reading. I'm trying to keep track of all these kids. I think this family has like 15 or 16 children in it.
But they brought in their cousins and stuff. They brought in extended families.
Right. So 8 families in total. Yeah, you're right. You're right. 8 families in all.
There were as many kids as Sister Assay needs there to be.
Yeah.
All right, we're back to Randall.
All right, so this is a new section called Responding to Activists' Claims. Gotta hate those activists. All right.
You gotta hate the bad ones.
Gay activists make many convincing claims regarding same-sex attraction. Every time I hear same-sex attraction, I get stabby. All right. We can help our youth.
But they're convincing. They already admitted it.
They're very persuasive.
Convincing.
It's already convincing, you know?
It's easy to get confused.
They make very, very convincing.
Well, Satan's very cunning, and he's going to sound convincing.
He's not just cunning, he's convincing.
Right.
Well, he's going to make things... He's going to use words like fair and tolerance and things
I'm convinced.
Yeah, and guess what? He was right in the Garden of Eden. He said, if you eat this fruit, you're going to die. And they died. He was right.
You shall not surely die, but shall be as the gods, knowing good and evil.
No, that's what God said.
No. No. Yeah. Satan said.
He said, you
shall
will
not surely die.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got that backwards. You shall
You're
surely
good,
know.
evil, black, white, up, down, bloody.
But he was right.
And given
Satan's got his talons in you.
I think the whole snake persona obfuscated what actually happened, Randy.
Now we've undermined Randy's entire devoting his entire life to Satan.
It was based on this fundamental misunderstanding.
And I am not a casual Satanist, man. I'm a black and white hardcore Satanist. All right, we can help our youth discern the truth regarding those claims by giving them solid information. Solid information and reasoned arguments from secular as well as religious sources. Bullshit. There is a large and growing body of research that affirms the value of man-woman marriage and natural families. Beyond that, there is a host of clearly articulated essays that lay out the social, cultural, and legal reasons for supporting traditional marriage. One penis and one vagina.
You see, what makes a traditional marriage so traditional is the physical anatomy of the people in it, namely the number of penises and vaginas. As God's mouthpiece on earth, it is our solemn duty to affirm that a traditional marriage contains one penis and one vagina. Well, except for very special occasions when the Lord has seen fit to allow marriages to have one penis and more than one vagina, as he did with Abraham and the early saints, but this only happens in extreme circumstances. However, in these troubled times, there are those who argue that a marriage can have two penises, or, I'm told, two vaginas with no penis at all, which baffles me to no end.
These resources can help us form strong, rational arguments that can guide our youth to greater understanding.
But the thing is, these. I mean, okay, I'm not. This is going to be super obvious and blah blah blah. But when I read through the amicus brief that the church and a bunch of other religious institutions filed regarding the case in the Supreme Court right now, I realized, and in preparing for the latest Brother Jake video, where I talked about same-sex. No, sorry, I didn't. I'm so sorry. I used that bigoted hate term about Mormons don't hate gay people. It's just none of these arguments are very well reasoned. Like they all seem incredibly flimsy. Is that just me? I mean, even when I was a believer, I don't know.
The statement that there's a large and growing body of research, that is a lie. That's an absolute lie, because all of the court cases have proved that there is a non-existent and crapball body of research that is all phony and for shit, and there was absolutely nothing. And so all the courts have said, do you have anything? Do you have anything that you can even show that says anything? And it's all crap. They have nothing. So.
And they eventually conceded that the research does not support their position. So they had no evidence to support their.
So
arguments.
This is just an outright lie. That part.
And I'm gonna try and track down. So I'm gonna have to track down like a circuit court hearing recording where just fillets the anti-gay marriage side.
You just go to
and saying that same thing. There's a really good soundbite that we can insert here.
Well, there's the entire. We can link to the entire transcripts to the Prop 8 evidence.
Yeah.
So
but I've seen like a 2 or 3 minute clip that just like really breaks it down. So this might be good.
But anything that you do like that, it confuses and obfuscates the issue further. Right?
But
Am I right though?
Okay, but okay.
It makes like for you to say that the evidence doesn't really say what the evidence actually says that it says? Can you tell by my head movements that I'm being facetious?
Facetious. Yeah. What is confusing about it though? Like I don't really understand when they say when they keep using this word confusing and I think there was another word they used, but anyway, what's confusing about it?
They make it seem like there's nothing wrong with gay marriage. But at church, they tell you very plainly that there is something wrong with gay marriage. And the scriptures are very clear. They're not, but they are very clear that there's something wrong with gay marriage. So when you hear things that say or would lead you to believe that there's nothing wrong with gay marriage, it's confusing and it's not honest inquiry. Well, to go back to the Aggie land.
Things that are confusing are things that they contradict the faithful
the
narrative.
Church message. Yeah.
Where'd Randy go?
He's got another tug. Yeah.
She said that. She said that in the first
devil
paragraph.
worship. Yeah, she did.
In other words, she explained why is it confusing? Because all of our natural reasoning and all of our ideas and society and everything that we might ever think about fairness or equality tells us one thing, but then the church is giving us an opposite message, and that's confusing.
Yeah, she says it confuses the kids because the messages they're getting at church aren't being supported outside of church. So it's up to parents to make sure that they know
that you drill it into them.
Yeah, that it's what you hear in church that matters.
Your kids don't seem to be naturally bigots, but my bigotry is so powerful that if I just repeat it a million times, then I can actually make them maybe feel like they have to adopt it.
And they get confused because the kids have these conversations with their friends, and if they take an un-PC or an unpopular view, then they're made to feel like a bigot, but they're not a bigot according to the TBM worldview, and so the kids
are bigots.
The kids, I know I said according to the LDS worldview, but the kids get confused because they're getting contradictory messages, and they start feeling like to be fair and tolerant are virtues, which they are, but not in this case. They're being misapplied.
Not according to the secular
They're being misapplied,
definition.
and Satan's using, just like Satan always does, Satan's using these good terms as a way to deceive the youth. And parents, we can't let this happen.
Right. So it's the confusion is this. I mean, the subtext of the confusion is that it's because it contradicts the faithful narrative, right? Because the theory of evolution is really not that confusing. It's actually a pretty simple explanation for the variety and the life that we see around us. But it can be confusing if you're trying to square it with something like a religious belief that won't accept it or something like that.
You know how a lot of ex-Mormons will say that Mormon beliefs just don't make sense? They're confused. They've been confused because, of course, Mormon beliefs make sense. And once you start thinking that they don't, you've just allowed yourself to be confused.
And Jake.
Okay, all right.
Jake, where's the only place that they could actually pull up evidence that gay marriage is harmful? It has to do with kids being raised by homosexual parents. Okay? This article, just because we're getting to the point where there's like link on every single paragraph from this point on, this Assy chick.
Sister Assy.
I feel like her name is going to get morphed and morphed toward the end. We're going to be like, Assy.
I stopped reading the links because it was like reading her article over and over and over. Right. You know, she's just linking to commentaries. But there are two studies that, if you dig deep enough in these links, that she's using as evidence, where children of homosexual parents suffer horrible consequences. One of the studies is by a fake journal called the British Journal of Education, Society and Behavioral Science, which has nothing to do with England at all. It's based in India and has its actual headquarters in the United States. And I went on their website, and it said, this international journal has no connection with any scholarly society or association or any specific geographic location or any country.
This just exists in the cloud.
This is an independent journal run by Science Domain International. And then I did a little bit more research on this journal.
Science Domain International?
Yeah, and what they do is they're a fake journal. They send out to – they do like a carpet bombing. They send out a bunch, like hundreds of emails to professors in any given field where the article is. And as soon as they get like 2 or 3 people that will say it's good, they tell everyone else, we don't need you anymore. That's not how peer review works. There was a second, actually a little bit more credible, but still not credible, peer-reviewed research that was done, and it has been completely lambasted.
I think lambasting is what they do with kebabs.
Yeah, it was.
Lambasting.
Yeah.
Worker.
Anyway, this was a journal that came under fire because this person they ran the study. First of all, his criteria for being raised by a gay couple was if one or both of the parents had any homosexual experience in their life, any kind of encounter.
You were close.
And oftentimes these were people that were like, drug addicts that turned tricks in the street. I mean, they did not remove any confounding variables, and even the author himself conceded that this study doesn't say anything about kids raised in stable homosexual households. So those are the two studies. One is a spurious study that was completely discredited by most of especially the American Psychological Association, the APA, and the other one is a fake magazine. And that's it. That's all the evidence they have.
There's no evidence at all in this whole thing. That's been totally adjudicated throughout all of the courts. Every single thing. There isn't anything. So it's all crap.
It's true, but I say, so what? I think too often we fight about this as, it's better to be in a heterosexual couple. It's better to be here. And I say, so what? Let's say that there were studies to support it. It still wouldn't justify taking away people's rights or not granting rights to something that isn't the ideal. We do that all the freaking time. And so I say, so what?
Yeah, but the other so what would be, so what? So here are these people in the first place who already have, like this kind of worldview where they totally reject knowledge and information and everything anyway that has any kind of legitimate basis. And so now they're trying to cling to some kind of phony study to prop up their thing. Why don't they just quote the Proclamation of the Family? Like that's all they did in the couple the 8 families ever did it either, right? So why does she have to cling now to phony studies in order to say, phony studies are proving me right? Why can't she just say, hey, the Proclamation of the Family, Thomas Monson, or Hinckley or whoever it was, that God told him and that told me, that's it. There you go.
No, but she thinks that if she can say religious and secular, she bolsters her argument because she's already said that she's going to make a rational claim.
But
it's Meridian Magazine.
But what I'm saying is that means she doesn't believe her actual faith. What that's doing by needing that extra prop, which is a lie, by needing to make a lie and then have that be a prop, that means she doesn't believe her actual faith claim.
Well, I think that what they're trying to do is the opponents of gay marriage have been put in an unfortunate position of the fact of the matter is that in the American legal system, the expectation is that religious conviction isn't something that can be used as compelling grounds for directing public policy. But the fact of the matter is they have no other grounds. Like their grounds are entirely religiously based, and so now they're trying to find some sort of justification, sort of heuristic to be able to say, there's some sort of rational basis. We can argue for this outside of the religious mentality. But the fact of the matter is they can't, and they don't even want to. Like that's not what's motivating their argument in the first place.
No, they want to defer to the Bible and their religious teachings, and you're right. They can't in this arena. I mean, in the Meridian Magazine arena they can, but they are trying to take this Meridian Magazine information and give it to people to take into the marketplace of ideas, and that's where they know they can't. They can't say, "But my prophet says." Blah.
Oh God, this is long.
But it is, but you remember like when something would come out about the word of wisdom that's like, it's said that people who drink coffee live 5 years less than people who don't drink coffee, that Mormons would go, see, the word of wisdom is right. And
I'm saying that's because they don't believe it in the real thing. In other words, that they need those external props in order to say see.
You're wrong, John. They do believe it. They do believe it, and they're excited that there's some.
They're totally insecure. You simultaneously
believe it, and they're excited that there's some non-biased source that's verifying what they already believed.
because they would have no problem dismissing anything that contradicted it. They just like being validated by the outside world. So I guess maybe it is insecurity, but it's not insecurity to the point that they're actually susceptible to external arguments.
No, they're not. Yeah.
All right, Jake, you go on the next paragraph.
Okay, got it. A new website. I'm going to go.
Marriage.
A new website, Stand for True Marriage, has compiled links to research and essays that support natural marriage and families, making them easy to access. Here is a list of arguments often made by gay activists. Gactivists. Coupled with quotes from some of those articles which address the difficult issues. 1. Don't same-sex attracted people deserve to be in a
no
relationship?
gay activist said don't same-sex attracted people.
All right, I'll say the
I know, but she just said, here's a list of that thing that activists have just said. Don't say this. No, they never said that, because that is you saying it because you're a bigot, and so you're using your bigot speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The activists would never say same-sex attracted people.
They would never say that, and they never did.
Don't...
You can't even say it now.
Gay people deserve to be in a relationship that brings them happiness?
Duh.
Okay, quote, all Americans... I wish Bob was here to do his Oak's voice. I think it would be really good. But, quote, all Americans have freedom to live as they choose, but no one has the right to redefine marriage for everyone else.
Ah! That's what you're doing!
In recent decades, marriage has been weakened by a revisionist view that's more about adults' desires than children's needs. This reduces marriage to a system to approve emotional bonds or distribute legal privileges.
Which is why we need to outlaw divorce.
How is it redefining marriage for everyone else?
I don't know. Nobody knows.
How?
Imagine you have a pie. There's no rational argument for this. There is no fucking rational argument for this. It doesn't make any sense.
Every single one of these things, they just did this in front of the Supreme Court. You know, that this view is about adults' desires and not children's needs. So then why should there be any marriages for people that are past fertility?
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, in other words, so anybody who's past fertility and desires marriage as an adult shouldn't get it because there's no possibility of children. I mean, the whole thing it falls apart instantly. Every single thing they're saying, and
right.
that's why it's been in front of all of this has been in front of the courts, and it falls apart in seconds once it is.
Well, and it just provides this. South. It provides this given that, of course, it has to be about children's needs rather than emotional bonds or to just distribute legal privileges. Well, I think emotional bonds and to distribute legal privileges is a pretty fucking good reason to have a marriage. So you have lost me from your premise that it needs to be about children's needs over some of these other interests that individuals might have.
Marriage is about lots of different things. That's why it's not just one thing. That's the way it is.
Right.
Well, and
even if you accept that premise, it doesn't make any fucking sense because people outside of the infertile people shouldn't be able to get married. It's just silly.
And by the way, infertile people can adopt kids, and then we are worried about those kids' needs too. And same thing, gay people have children, and right now those children are the people that don't have any legal protections. They're facing all kinds of horrible legal problems in all of the handful of states that are still, where their parents' marriages aren't recognized. So obviously, if you cared about children's needs, we would want to give them the most security that they could possibly have, which is having them be officially legally connected to both of their parents.
And right. the lawyer for the pro-marriage side articulated that pretty well. Said, well, these families exist. These children exist. We could pretend that they don't, but they already exist. So your argument is moot because of the existence of these families, these relationships, these children. So exactly what John said.
If we're worried about the children, then we need to recognize the marriages immediately. And for the rest, there's all the other marriages that exist, perfectly legal for straight people that aren't about children, have no possibility of children, children aren't even contemplated. Children is something that can be associated with marriage, but it is not the sine qua non of marriage.
Yeah, but why did they want to?
Don't you know words?
Not yours. Apex legomena.
All right, Randy. I feel like Randy's been needing to say something. Randy, go.
Fucking make a point for about 5 fucking minutes, and I'm not gonna. No, not even you, John. Not even you. I'm gonna make a fucking point because I'm tired of going. I'm making my point.
Go for it. Go for it, man.
Can't touch this.
Go for it, man.
You can't touch this.
Is everyone listening?
And that's why you don't.
Yeah. So the reason why they want to narrow marriage down to all. Hey, Jake, to narrow marriage down to all about the kids, is because that's the only place that they can even propose any fake scientific argument for their claims. And that's what they make it. That's why they always try to make it about the kids. It's always about the kids. Always about the kids.
Now you got all about the bass stuck in my head, man.
To all about the kids. All about the kids.
No parents.
To all about the kids. All about the kids.
No parents.
Any viable evidence. It has to do with it's all about the kids. Even this atheist friend of ours, the crux of his argument is that he says gender matters. It's better for a kid to have both male and female parents.
It's apparently better for kids to have lesbian parents. That's the best.
It's all about
vagina.
It's all about
vagina.
No
penis.
Right, because the women, yeah.
Because really, women
penis and one vagina.
Women are more responsible. What's you say?
But what was the response to that, Jake? It's just baffles me to no end. There was something like that you said.
Yeah,
how that's accomplished. With no penis at all, which baffles me to no end.
Yeah, he said there's some marriages with 2 vaginas, which baffles me to no end.
That was my favorite line. So, Jake, finish the paragraph on the number 1 point.
Oh, right. Okay. Second quote from a different source, probably just as reliable as the first.
Worse.
Continue to love me, but remember that you cannot be more merciful than God. It isn't mercy to affirm same-sex acts as good. Practice compassion according to the root meaning of compassion. Suffer with me. Don't compromise truth. Help me to live in harmony with it. Why does that only apply to the believing person and not the gay person?
I'm looking at the roots of compassion, calm meaning with, right? And then passion, suffer. And then he says, don't compromise. And then I'm like, calm meaning with and promise meaning to promise. But anyway, it doesn't quite make sense. But now I'm interested in words. Si papu. Si quinine.
That's Latin.
Si quinine.
Anyway,
I said sine qua non.
Oh, okay.
Sine qua non.
Come on.
I said that with the Latin accent. Sine qua non.
Sine qua non.
Hey. Okay.
All right. I'll read number 2.
Right.
How does gay marriage hurt anyone? You guys?
Wait.
Okay, you're the one that wanted to finish early, Randy.
I know, but I had it on mute, and I just want to ask the question. Do those 2 paragraphs answer the question at the top that they were supposed to answer?
No.
Don't gay people deserve to be in a relationship that brings them happiness? It does not resolve that.
Because
whatsoever.
God says no.
Yeah.
Because God says no.
Yeah, it's not really happiness. Calling it happiness doesn't make it happiness. We already know it's a sin. So if you call it something other than a sin,
God says yes. So the reality is
that's in your imaginary Doctrine and Covenant, section 164.
No, Jesus' entire ministry was to include everyone, and there is nothing about this norm, 1950s gender norms is involved at all. So they're absolutely wrong.
But
to try to pull in compassion and try to pull in the etymology of compassion, you have to deconstruct all of philosophy going back 2,000 years. With passion. Anyway, so.
But here's the argument that she's making here is, yes, Jesus said love everyone. But if you really love someone, you're not going to let them continue in sin. You're not going to let them do something that harms their soul and puts them in eternal jeopardy, John.
Bigotry.
You don't love somebody and then send them to hell by saying it's okay for you to be awful.
So
good God!
Go for it, man.
Can't touch this.
There is no other sin that is related at all than bigotry against homosexuals. That's the only sin that is involved here. She has rejected Jesus and everything that he stood for, and therefore she is Antichrist. So there you are. So you yelling at me all you want. With your crap.
You were yelling at me.
Your warmer whisperer.
You were yelling at me, though.
Yeah, I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to yell at
Hey, Matt. This is John Dylan's cousin. Is that confirmed?
Who?
The
sister
Assy. Assy. Yeah.
Is John Dylan's cousin?
And her brother is gay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Wow, she's a bitch.
That's gotta be a rough relationship.
You know what, Sister Assy? You're
No, you're the Antichrist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's actually a stronger term.
Not the
There's several of them.
Antichrist.
Lots and lots. John, I agree with you. That it's Antichrist.
Doesn't mean I don't want to yell at you.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I don't want to yell at you.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you know.
No greater love can man have than this.
Yeah, right.
To yell at his friends, even though they probably still agree.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not worried.
Randy?
It's not my turn, is it?
No,
it's you, Glenn.
It's mine. I just want to make sure that it's okay with Randy that I read.
Yeah, it's just I had my mute button on, and I was like, why is nobody listening to me?
That's why.
So, and I found out why.
All right.
Ahead.
Number 2. How does gay marriage hurt anyone? This quote comes from a link called Prepared Remarks for the Minnesota State Legislature Hearing on the Constitutional Amendment Defining Marriage. And you get somebody that looks at that link and doesn't even click on it, and they're like, I'm sold. Whatever this is about to say, that sounds awesome. Okay.
It was prepared. It was prepared by somebody, some bigot, for the Minnesota State
Legislature.
Yeah, it was
they were
probably Michelle
prepared
Bachmann.
remarks. Okay.
Prepared remarks.
But unlike what we do, which is just off the cuff and out of our ass. So.
Oh, by the way, there's a Google error when you try to click on it.
Okay.
Good job,
Marriage. Here's the quote. Marriage is not simply a special case of the market, and family law is not simply a subset of property and contract law.
No, it literally is.
I mean, yeah, how is that
Were you
true?
there, Matt? Were you there in Minnesota?
True?
You weren't even there in Minnesota.
You're probably not even licensed to practice in Minnesota, sir.
Yeah. How would they say? Gotcha. Okay.
Can we have Scott confirm this? Because Scott is a licensed family law practitioner.
Ooh.
Right. Marriage exists to meet the social necessity of caring for helpless children
I told you it's
who
all
are
about
not
children.
and cannot be contracting parties. Children are protected parties, and marriage should protect the interests of both parents in pursuing their common project of rearing their children. What a terrible word. Rearing their children. I think I'd be arrested for doing that. If we replace this essential public purpose, with inessential private purposes. I keep seeing Jake smiling, and it's distracting me. I'm moving the thing over.
Private purposes. Okay.
Private purpose. Oh, crap. Private purposes.
Are you really moving things around so you can't see me?
Yes. If we replace this essential public purpose with inessential private purposes, marriage will not be able to do its job. But children will still need secure attachments to their mothers and fathers a need which will go unfulfilled. So, like, we don't know who prepared this or what the response was to it, but we know that remark was given.
The response was, that's bullshit.
Okay. Well, that's irrelevant.
Because we already know, we've already covered this, which is marriage exists beyond children.
Right.
Obviously. There's no doubt about it. And we're not preventing sterile people from having marriages. We're not preventing people that are over the age of 50 from getting married, So anyway, it's a nonsense.
And she puts this quote, it's like she puts these quotes in here and expects the reader to connect the dots to answer the question that she poses. How does gay marriage hurt anyone? This doesn't, it's supposed to imply that it hurts children, but it doesn't connect the dots, Like, how would allowing gay people to get married hurt children?
It won't.
And this doesn't say anything about it.
Well, so you need secure attachments to mothers and fathers, a need which will go unfulfilled. There's the harm. If you have somebody that was born with the opposite genitals, that's the thing. That's the magic. That's the magic.
If you let two people that are 70 years old get married and they're not going to have any kids, then that means that marriage will exist without kids, and so therefore kids are suffering.
But also, if you let two 20-year-old men get married, they're not going to have their own children either.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant that the children that come out of that union need secure attachments to mothers and fathers, because there aren't any children that come out. And if they're adopted, they've got secure attachments to their fathers. Unless it's a lesbian couple, then they've got secure attachments to their mothers. But it's just she's not connecting the dots here. It's Meridian Magazine. It's Meridian.
And okay, so I actually grew up in a family with a single parent because my dad died when I was young, and so the case where it say these children will have their right to be known and loved by their mother and or father stripped away from them in every instance. Well, I did too. My father knew and loved me up until I was when he died, but after that point, it was a single parent household. This is suboptimal. I don't understand why I wasn't torn away from my house, because it was this isn't the perfect scenario. Let's get him out of there. And to say that it's being promoted where our society promotes a family structure. Well, in the same way that a single parent household is promoted, it's not really promoted. It's just allowed, and I don't know. It's just, okay, so there's some points further on in this article I really want to get to because they are just so juicy.
Well, can we skip over this one? The next, number 3 is studies show that gay people actually make better parents. And then she says, other people disagree. They don't. And I come back to, it doesn't matter whether they make better parents. That's not the argument. We're not saying they should be allowed equality because they make better parents. We're saying they should get equality because they're people, and that's a good enough reason for me. So I just feel like we get in the weeds too much on who makes better parents. Well, let's break that down further. Who makes better parents? A child that comes from a rich family or a poor family. Let's take kids away from
poor people.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
or
rich people,
rich people spoil their kids.
Right. Let's break it down. Once you have over 5 kids, then the younger children don't have as much attention, and so the ideal is 3.5 kids. So once you have your 4, you can break this down into what is the statistical ideal based on whatever criterion they come up with, and say that must be the universal application as it pertains to marriage. And it's just so fucking stupid to do. It doesn't matter.
That's a good point, Matt, because I think I'm susceptible to getting lost in those weeds of being well, no, not really. Look at this thing where they say every child raised by 2 moms or 2 dads came to that household via one of these 4 traumatic methods. Well, you're not controlling for that statistical variance, but the fact is, I'm already conceding the point that there should be some optimal, that there is some sort of optimal configuration, and any deviation from that optimal configuration should be legislated against. And I don't think that that's true. I think that that's not a position that that's not a premise I should be accepting. So that's a good point, Matt.
We can point to any family and say there's probably some variable in your family that is not the ideal, that is not the perfect. And I keep saying when it comes to this and a lot of things, the perfect can never be the enemy to the good. And when you have loving parents who, whether they be gay, straight, polyamorous, I don't care, as long as the family, there's parents that care about kids and aren't, fucking them, then I say, wow, that's a lot better than a lot of families.
I like the way that you summarized it, though, Matt, because it got to the heart of what she's saying and what she's doing without getting into all these confusing weeds, which is why she put them here in the first place. And
to obfuscate.
Absolutely. She is. Correct. That's what this is. Ding, 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 ding. It's like I'm gonna cite I'm gonna put all these words here, I'm gonna cite all these sources and make it look like this rock solid as a rock. Look at how many sources I have here that support what I'm saying. That they don't. It's just word soup that's spilled all over the page, and we're falling for it. Mm-hmm. We're playing right into it.
Well, who wanted to do this Smackdown? Because you're to blame,
Matt.
It was a listener who asked for it.
The listener. Our listeners.
Yeah. Our listeners asked for it, and we acquiesced.
And Matt was the dingleberry.
I was.
Right, yeah.
Let's move on.
Well, but she starts trying to address that point in 4, where she says, but it would be better to allow gay couples to adopt than for children to live with abusive parents.
Well, that's a no-brainer.
No, but she's actually going to refute this point.
She's going to refute this point? This is a fucking no-brainer.
Yes.
Oh my God!
I mean, it's not. I mean, we can.
What she turns it on its head. What I said is, the perfect can't be the enemy of the good. What she does is actually say any degree of brokenness must be rejected, and if you have any measure of brokenness, same-sex marriage being one of them, then that is a reason to that in and of itself is right. So she actually does it. She puts a spin on it. By saying, if it's not perfect, then we shouldn't embrace it, which is just, it is so fundamentally flawed to argue that point. She loses all credibility.
So you actually want to have that mythical ideal that we had been trying to find, between. So essentially, lesbian couple who makes exactly a household of $92,000 a year and lives in Columbus, Ohio. And anything short of that is a degree of brokenness.
Right.
Well, here's a quote. She says, no one wants children to be left with abusive parents. However, studies show that children raised in same-sex headed households can experience increased risks to their health and well-being. So it's a complete non sequitur. It's a complete non sequitur.
No, it's worse than that. She's equating being raised by same-sex parents to being raised by heterosexual parents that are abusive.
No, but she's not. She's saying no one wants them to be left with abusive parents, but
that's bad too. Like why do another bad thing?
She's equating them.
No, it's a non sequitur.
She's placing them on the same continuum. I would say that I don't think she's equating the two, but she's placing them on the same continuum. They're on the same continuum of brokenness as each other.
She's putting them in a category of broken.
Exactly. That's true.
She also says that children raised in same-sex headed households, that bigoted line again, can experience increased risk to their health and well-being. Well, being raised by a blonde can increase risks to health and well-being too. I mean, it's possible. Therefore, we should reject it. It's just it's so logically unsound that it's not even worth advancing. Yeah.
Right, and I think I like this approach of of not even accepting the premise of what she's saying. Way to go, Matt!
Yeah, you shortened the podcast by quite a bit.
Yeah,
We're not going to read every
I feel like
line.
Yeah, I can see. I'd like to skip. Yeah, I'd like to skip number 4, and number 5 is more of the same. Number 5 is as long as children have 2 parents, it doesn't matter what gender they are. And then she goes back into fathers, blah 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 blah, and fathers express more concern for the child's long-term development, while mothers focus on the child's immediate well-being, blah 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 blah. But the thing is,
I say let's embrace that and say, so what? Let's accept your premise is true, which it is not. But so what? That's not a good reason to prevent
What about the first part of the sentence was even as long as children have two parents? We already talked about Jake only having one parent.
Right, exactly.
What is the point? In other words, again, were we back to the point where Jake's mom needed to have all of her children taken away from her because her husband died? I mean,
she also cites the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day newsroom, the divine institution of marriage. Nice citing there, Assy.
I called the warping of her name. I like it.
Well, this speaks to the, how they think it's going to erode society. This is what the church quoted. The legal recognition of same-sex marriage may over time erode the social identity, gender development, and moral character of children. So it's going to affect your kids. So in effect, it'll affect your marriage because marriage is all about kids. So this is the argument that it's going to cause a breakdown in the very fabric of society.
Well, 4, 5, and 6 all say the same thing. They say she wants to concede, yeah, it might be better that gay couples have children than children be, forcibly raped by their fathers, but there's a measure of badness to gay couples too. Therefore, why even go down that road?
Right. Both sides are wrong.
All right, I want to hear John's view on this one. I like number 7.
Yeah, I think I want to go in depth in 7 and 8 because I think that these are especially harmful. Because up to this point, we've been talking about kind of the legalistic implications of gay marriage, but now we're talking about the kind of the symbolic position that it would take in our society and more of the sociological impact of the acceptance of homosexuality in this kind of formal way. So I would like to go into 7 and 8 more in depth than 4, 5, and 6. I mean, fuck them.
But we're on 6, right?
Well, I kind of want to just skip to 7.
Skip 6. Oh. 6 is just as stupid as 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Did you read it so we at least know what we're skipping?
Oh,
gay couples have a right to form families by adopting children. But yeah, of course they do.
Yeah, but she says no. Okay.
And she cites.
She doesn't say anything. She's just
stupid.
Bringing in quotes without explaining them. It's I hate it.
Again, because it does. Again, it's like one critical parental relationship and a vital dual gender influence. So again, I'm Jake. You haven't turned out your monogender influence that you had. I mean, we might as well just whatever, throw you off the cliff now because your monogender influenced.
All right. Well, this is
he did leave the church.
Yeah, there's no penis in my parenthood.
The next line should be read because it does highlight the problem with these people and why it's so nefarious, because they say whether by adoption, divorce, or third-party reproduction, the adults in this scenario satisfy their heart's desire while the child bears the most significant cost, missing out on one or more of her biological parents. And again, as the father of an adopted daughter, can I just say, stupid. So yeah, So start legislating against adoption, divorce, and third-party reproduction.
Right. So are we on 7?
Who's doing 7?
All right. 7. High rates of gay teen suicide could be avoided if we could just encourage same-sex attracted youth to be true to themselves.
Oh, Jesus. Fuck. Single thing that Matt said. Stupid. Oh, God.
Wait. But fundamentally, don't you agree with the sentence? But
right,
you if they're true to themselves, then they're happily gay.
She is such a bigot. I mean, this is just insane. Yes, high rates of gay teen suicide could be avoided if gay children could be true to themselves instead of
and
being
just be allowed to be gay.
This bullshit that she is peddling. This rotten stuff. She's the cause of it, and all of whatever everybody else that's in her society.
Yeah, this is where it turns dark to me. She goes from ideological to being completely callous to the suffering of many, many young children struggling in this society with the hate that she is contributing to. killing themselves, and she's like trying to like wash her hands of it while condemning them at the same time. And so, yeah.
Seriously.
So I admit I haven't read this thing all the way through. So this is new stuff to me. And this quote, just what is behind these suicides? I can't believe what I'm reading. A simple way to test this is to look at places where homosexuality is very much accepted, such as in nations like Holland or cities like San Francisco. One would expect less suicide and other mental health problems amongst homosexuals in these places, but that is not the case. There is much, if not more, suicide and related problems in these localities, so homophobia cannot be to blame.
And no links to any studies. No links to any studies. It's just a fucking statement. It's just a fucking statement in that article.
There's more suicides in Utah. That's the way it is. Gay suicides. So, yes. That doesn't mean that there are not more suicides. So, people still commit suicide in Holland where they think maybe life doesn't have any meaning or something like that. But it's not. But that doesn't make it. That isn't even a related point. There is just as much as not more suicide. It doesn't say gay teen suicides.
Right.
And there's no stats for this. Then where there are more gay teen suicides is Utah. That's where it's highest. So there it is. So her point is clear.
Yeah, I mean so I'm reading this article that she linked to, and it's just. It seems like very, very weak methodology. So this is actually my bread and butter. I mean, what I do most of the time in my work is I evaluate I evaluate programs that we run. So basically, we do these kind of pseudo-scientifically controlled things. So what you do is you try and find a relative comparison group, and then you find this little baseline, and then you compare, changes over time and whatever. But the point is that this is boring. I'm going to cut this.
No, it's not. It's not. Shut Glenn up.
Yeah, Glenn, you shut up, man. Not everything is havele huvela Latin. Okay.
Sine qua non.
Okay. So basically what I do professionally is I do studies like this where we take we study the population that we're trying to get a bead on and measure, and we try and find a compatible control group, and then we compare the two. And this just seems like the weakest statistical methodology I've ever seen in this article that I'm reading over. They literally, it looks like they just measured suicide rates. That's all they did. They didn't try and find they didn't try and control for income or how many immigrants, depression rates. They didn't try and control for anything like that. They just measured depression and suicide rates in different places and say those are pretty gay places, right? Yeah, they don't have the rates are pretty high. Fuck them. So it's just it. Anyway, the whole I think this kind of goes along with
not controlling for other variables.
Well, but I think that this kind of goes along with. I don't know. It's just I maybe we're getting in the weeds and we shouldn't be accepting the premise at all, like Matt was doing before. But I just think this whole thing is ridiculous. I mean, are you really trying to say that having? I mean, can you really not see the toxicity of having as bigoted a mentality as you do, and being a teen already in an extremely vulnerable place in your life, and being told that the element of your identity that's coming online at this point, i.e. your sexuality, is fundamentally broken? Like, you're really going to tell me that receiving that message isn't going to be any more harmful than receiving the opposite message of you're okay?
Well, yeah, and her premise of, well, listen, it's not like letting gays get married is going to stop suicide. So why even bother? It's so stupid of an argument that she's extending. They're going to keep killing themselves, so why should we let them get married? I mean, it just makes no sense.
It's worse than stupid. It's callous and it's malicious, and that's where this is the part of the article that made me the most angry. She was basically no, it's not, because they're tied together, but really. Right. The most tragic part of this whole thing is kids are killing themselves, and some young adults, and some older adults, 20 Don. I mean, there was a fair chance that he would have killed himself after a certain point in time. Anyway, at any rate, to diminish the suffering and the death toll that this bigotry has brought about, it hits to the core of my emotional response to this whole thing.
Well, if let's say even one suicide is caused by homophobia, isn't that enough, you dumb bitch?
And it's way more than one.
Yeah.
Gay lives matter.
I agree.
Hashtag Gay lives matter.
I agree. Like that,
Yes.
if even one is caused by having this messaging, then like there's.
Well, the reason why it's so
how can that
tragic-
be worth it? You know,
The reason why it's tragic is because it's unnecessary. It's completely an unnecessary death.
Word.
I don't know. Maybe their physical death isn't as bad as their spiritual death. Sorry, I'm trying to take over for Glenn.
No,
here.
it's collateral damage to the bigger war.
Gay people can't change.
You didn't read the other quotes.
My experience has been that when the meaning of same-sex attraction changes, the frequency of same-sex attraction decreases dramatically. I don't know what that means.
It's her Orwellian hate speech. So when the meaning, so if she gets to, as an activist, redefine gay people so they don't even exist, then we would get rid of gay people.
Yeah, except
if
that
only
she's
we
quoting.
can say that
It's not her. She's quoting. She's quoting
she's
from another
obviously she's
post
quoting
again.
she's quoting a Mormon because they're using this language.
Right.
The last one of these above, where in the other quote where the suicide attempts among Norwegian youth with SSA. Well, where did that come from, I wonder?
Yeah.
Oh, it's from FAIR.
No, this is probably something similar.
In other words, I guess because they used Norwegian youth with SSA and it didn't say gay teen suicide in Norway, you wonder where did that source come from? Oh, it's FAIR.
So my guess on this, you remember Don talked about the gay camps that he went to, and they tried to deprogram his same-sex attraction or whatever. So this first sentence that whoever was saying, I don't get it. My experience has been that when the meaning of same-sex attraction changes, so when you go to these camps and you get like indoctrinated on what it could mean instead of what it does mean or something, then the frequency of same-sex attraction decreases dramatically. So he's just saying camps like these work. And the name of the article is Understanding Unwanted Same-Sex Attraction.
Right. So the idea of it again is this is what I said right at the very beginning by saying same-sex attracted. In other words, that they're doing this. Her entire Orwellian premise is that there is no such thing as sexual orientation. And so that's the point. And those camps, because of are actually all about to be illegal.
So then she basically just says, yeah, it's hard to change, but it's possible, without really providing anything other than the atonement of Jesus Christ. But isn't this claim that people can change? Hasn't the church reversed themselves on that and said, yeah, that's not really our position anymore?
Yeah, I don't think like reparative therapy is really something that's in the wheelhouse of what's advocated kind of actively. This is kind of an antiquated mentality, I think.
But they haven't written all the people off. So in other words, all the people that are still in having done it, there's the famous guy is.
Joshua Weed?
No. Yeah, a different one. I don't know. I don't pay attention to it. But anyway, in other words, there's no.
Of all the blessings that have come, the best thing in my life is the companionship and comfort I get from very young men.
There's a famous one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point of it is that they're still backing the gay guys that claim that they changed and married women.
Why would our Heavenly Father do that to anyone?
Right. I mean, well, I think the second paragraph speaks to this, where it's, of course, even one published case of documented change would be sufficient to disprove the assertion that change is impossible.
Really?
But there are hundreds. those changes are of varying degree, but the majority are satisfying to those involved, and those one may, yeah. So basically, it's saying that like, oh, there are exceptions, so we should be advocating that. Like, why crush so many people in the wheels? Like, okay, let's say that it's possible, but incredibly unlikely and uncommon.
But to say that the part where I have a problem with that is to say that that's what everyone should do. That is what pisses me off and is presumptuous. Because how many gay guys are going to be lucky enough to find that one woman that they can create a delusion with, that they're straight enough to have a family? And it puts pressure on them to the point where they might commit suicide because they're not finding that one person.
I know, but listen to this, Randy. Does the fact that some people do not change negate the change in those who do? Of course not. No one would look at the failures of cancer therapy and say that no cancer therapy should be allowed. Long-term remission from cancer occurs and inspires greater efforts to overcome it. So
See, John, your homoness just is a form of cancer.
Right. It's a form of cancer.
Let's bring this up. That yes, sexual orientation is something that you have at birth, and when we're going to make analogies, heterosexuality it's a horrific curse that could be equated with cancer. But you guys were all born with it. I don't hate you for it or anything like that. You know, it's just you can't help it. I'm sad for you.
You actually sympathize for
I sympathize
for the plight that we have of having to deal with.
Yeah, of course.
Women.
It's sad to be the way you were born, but you were all born that way. So yeah, but
we can't help it.
But I can fight it like cancer.
Yeah, you think?
I'll try.
You
John.
can beat cancer. You
can't
work
on it.
Randy, you want to work on this with me?
You can't beat OSA. You want to work together.
Cancer?
You OSA
You want to
guys.
beat this cancer with me?
You have this OSA.
Just beat it and beat it.
Oh, this is.
It's OSA, opposite sex attraction.
I got OSA. Oh, it's horrible.
I have OSA.
Let me ask you a question. Does gay marriage, does it really need a hinge on whether or not it's a biological component? If they could demonstrate that it was not a biological component and people choose, let's say that could be absolutely unequivocally demonstrated. Does it matter? Shouldn't people still have the right to choose what relationships they want to engage in?
It doesn't matter because marriage isn't a natural thing. So the fact that they've even put nature in this, marriage is a thing, a societally created thing.
See, I agree with that. To me, it doesn't matter. This is another one of those that I think we get in the weeds and we're like, yeah, but it's biological, and of course it is, and I think that's demonstrated. But my point is, so what? We let people make decisions, and sometimes they might be bad decisions based on who they're going to marry, and we think, well, that person's they're incompatible, and they should not be marrying that woman or that man or that person who they choose to marry, and yet they get to make that mistake anyway. So if a person wants to make that choice, then so be it.
Well, it doesn't matter in this. It doesn't matter in this argument, but it matters totally within the Mormon context because if it's a choice, it's a sin.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter politically.
No,
it does because
I didn't say that.
They have that goddamn thing. Whatever you can do whatever they want in the stupid temples. But the fact is that they're out marching and actually causing changes in like California and stuff like that. Right. So in other words, this entire thing, the whole reason why this is all even down. I mean, they're busily in lockstep with the new thing, which is religious freedom laws, as a way to cloak, legalized bigotry against gay people. That's been ever since they lost on the Prop 8 PR. They circled the wagons. They went back inside there. They thought about it for a little while, and they came out with this lockstep thing that all the bigots are doing. And
it is pretty good, and it's going to let them. It's gonna give them some longevity, but eventually it's gonna implode, and people are gonna realize, oh wait, no, that's just another way of discriminating. So it's gonna give them longevity, but at the end of the day, it's just stupid.
So the next section is going right to the source. I think we've already addressed that.
Well, she just says, well, there's a lot of Mormon people who identify as same-sex attracted, and they don't want to do it. So we should allow gay marriage. Again, it is such an. It does not connect to why, even if that's true, that other people who don't subscribe to your fucking religion should be forced to behave the way you want them to behave. That's what she doesn't address.
That's kind of the premise of this whole thing, is that it's just sin and it's bad because it's sin.
Yeah, because she's about to explain her thinking on that, where she rejects, Jesus and everything else. That's in the next section.
Oh, in the understanding love section?
Yeah. She's saying,
let's go to
I am a bigot. I reject everything that Jesus has said because I'm a bigot. That's her. That's how I've just read it. It's done.
Oh wow, that's pretty spot on, word for word there. I'm a bigot.
Yeah, there it is.
I don't care what you say. I think that's about right.
She says sinful behavior is not love. You can't equate love with sinful behavior. And so anyone who's committing sin, and I'm saying this is sin because it's gay, and it's gay sin is the worst sin ever. So Jesus certainly isn't happy, and he cries for everybody who does gay stuff.
Yeah, but the worst line is the very first line, guys. One of the biggest stumbling blocks our youth experience concerning gay marriage stems from the misunderstanding of Christ's commandments to love one another. So basically what she's saying there is that our youth is really having a natural
trying to love too much.
Yeah. Right. And we got to show them that bigotry is how you avoid the stumbling block of tolerance and love.
Right. The real gospel. Our Mormon Jesus is hate. It sounded like he was saying love people. Sounded like he was saying be inclusive. It sounded like he was saying that you shouldn't judge people. But really, what he was actually saying was hate people, like I hate people. Hate them for being different.
Hate one another.
Yeah. So there it is.
As I hate others. Sorry, I'm not like Glenn. I can't do a whole song.
But I am Glenn, and I can do whole songs. But I'm not going to, not right now. I really just want to read this pretty long quote from Brigham Young about what Jesus really meant when he said, love one another. See, Brigham Young taught this on February 8, 1857, and it's recorded in the Journal of Discourses, Volume 4, Discourse 42, pages 219 to 221. So here's our beloved Brigham. Now take a person in this congregation who has a knowledge with regard to being saved in the kingdom of our God and our Father, and being exalted, one who knows and understands the principles of eternal life, and suppose that he is overtaken in a gross fault, that he has committed a sin that he knows will deprive him of that exaltation which he desires, and that he cannot attain to it without the shedding of his blood, and also knows that by having his blood shed, he will atone for that sin, and be saved and exalted with the gods. Is there any man or woman in this house who would not say, shed my blood that I may be saved and exalted with the gods? Will you love your brothers and sisters when they have committed a sin that cannot be atoned for without the shedding of blood? Will you love that man or woman well enough to shed their blood? That is what Jesus meant. He never told a man or woman to love their enemies in their wickedness. Never. He never intended such a thing. His language is left as it is for those to read who have the Spirit to discern between truth and error. It was so left for those who can discern the things of God. Jesus Christ never meant that we should love a wicked man in his wickedness. I could refer you to plenty of instances where men have been righteously slain in order to atone for their sins. So what Sister Assie is doing here isn't exactly blood atonement, but it's not too far off of Brigham Young's concept of loving your neighbor as yourself, because these people are wicked in their wickedness, and we shouldn't just love wicked people in their wickedness. That's love and acceptance and fairness. We need to put those things in air quotes, because that's not really what Jesus meant. Anyone who reads things with the true Spirit of God as their guide will know that to be true. But if that fails, you can always just listen to the prophets, because they're basically telling us what God wants us to know anyway. And, well, you know what they're saying. All right, back to the conversation.
Yeah, and then the next section is basically more of the same, which you can love people without condoning sinful behavior. And she comes up with this horrible story of a lesbian woman who wants another woman to help her propose to her girlfriend. And she
okay,
didn't
let's just read it. Let's do it. Just read it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
The young woman didn't know what to do. She didn't want to offend her friend, but she knew she couldn't go against her own principles. Finally, she spoke to her friend and told her that she loved her, but she wouldn't be able to help her propose. She said, quote, I respect your beliefs, but tolerance goes both ways. I hope you can also respect my reasons for not helping you. The friend accepted this explanation.
This is an example of what I was talking about in our PPI with John, about the word respect. Like, I respect your beliefs, but I don't really. Like, what the hell does that even mean? I respect your beliefs. It's just a way of saying, don't hate me for being a bigot towards you.
Right. I agree with this because I have the same problem with the word forgive, because people say, oh, well, forgiveness, you forgive everybody. No, you don't. Because if somebody fucked you over, the fact of the matter is...
With a pineapple and a porcupine.
And a pineapple and a porcupine... that's natural. That's the natural way.
Pineapple, a porcupine, and it's an alliteration.
Percolated and pissed on.
Percolated.
Get throwing some Percocet.
That was a Jake.
Percolated and pissed on.
This idea of of respect or forgiveness, or saying like I respect some people's, I don't respect other people's beliefs. I really don't. Because I don't respect this woman's beliefs at all. I have no respect for this idea that homosexuality is categorically sinful.
Yeah.
And I can't. I mean, I don't know what it means. And I suppose I can say I don't have vitriol toward belief in the Book of Mormon as a literal history, but things like this I have no respect for. I have no respect for these beliefs whatsoever. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do with that. Or I think there's this expectations. I mean, there's this expectation that you're supposed to well, you don't have to agree, but you have to respect each other's beliefs. But isn't disagreement kind of inherently disrespecting?
No.
I mean,
you didn't listen to our PPI with John Hamer, did you?
Yes, I did.
We listened. We just didn't respect it.
He just didn't respect my idea. Okay, that's fair. That's totally fair.
Restate it.
Ideas do not deserve automatic respect. Ideas earn their respect in the arena of thought, in the arena of ideas. People deserve respect automatically. Sentient beings deserve respect automatically. But ideas do not.
So Sister Assy right here, you respect her as a person.
You respect her?
You respect her as a person because she deserves it, Randy?
No, because my ideal is that I would respect her as a person. I just don't feel it.
No.
But her ideas, I don't give a fuck.
Because her ideas come from her.
Ideas.
Like, what's the separation between her and her ideas here?
How can you compartmentalize between her ideas and her identity when there's... I mean, obviously she's a Mormon, and so these are incredibly formative. Those are so important to her identity.
So my idea is Audi is a superior car to Lexus. That's an idea that's not core to my identity.
Dude, come on!
What I'm saying is
compare this to what she's saying here. This is a believing woman writing in Meridian Magazine.
What are you trying to do right now, Randy? What are you trying to get at?
What I'm trying to get at is if you
don't compare it with your preference for luxury cars, you rich fuck.
Yeah, I have both an Audi and a Lexus.
Oh.
And Audi is superior. Ideas, when your ideas are tied too tightly to your identity, and would you guys all agree that Mormonism gets its tentacles in like every part of your identity? Why are we still doing this podcast?
I think you're trying to obfuscate the point.
All right. So what's the point? Where are you trying to get at?
He doesn't have one.
No, the point is that if you tie your identity too tightly to your ideas, then you cannot be reasoned with. But if your ideas aren't so like ripping your heart out if somebody criticizes them, then there's a chance for changing upon new information.
Respect, Randy. We're talking about respect.
But what I'm saying, when you say like when your ideas aren't, what you're saying is like don't internalize your ideas as much as Mormons internalize their ideas. But up to this point, we have described a stupid people, stupid people.
What I say is the ideal. It's not my lived experience. It's not. I get angry at people and I get very.
Go for it, man.
I don't treat people with respect. John has the same problem. We talked about this the other night. He wants to be respectful of people, but when their ideas are so stupid, he wants to stomp them in the face.
Hey, John, okay. I wanted to ask you something kind of related to the religious freedom thing that the church and the other Christians are using. Why don't other churches or any church that accepts homosexuality and gay marriage or whatever, why don't they just embrace that and say, yeah, that's why you have to allow this for our religious freedom. This is a religious tenet that we follow, which is, equality, tolerance, love, whatever you want to do. Why not do that and turn it on its head? It seems like people have not done that effectively yet, and it's just ripe for that.
Yeah. I am gonna do it myself a little bit. I'm gonna write something, and I'm gonna but mostly on the topic of why the so-called religious liberty acts are actually an attack on my religious liberty. That, in other words, that portion of it, as opposed to the problem with doing the other one is that whereas we have gotten in the vanguard where we are able to embrace marriage equality and everything as sacraments and all those kind of things, we haven't done it in such a way where we are being internally triumphalistic, and so that the winners in our church are kicking the losers in the nuts. In other words, we brought them along with us, and it's wonderful. Right. But but unfortunately, it's hard. It's kind of hard to thread the needle on it. So
yeah. So is that something that is that where respect comes in? Where maybe if there was a way that maybe we could maintain this modicum of respect, then we don't necessarily have to jettison the losers of the argument. Even though we're being very critical of these ideas, is there? I'm just saying. Let's say that we leave.
Respect is a canard in this case. It is not real. It's fake. You can't even pretend to have respect when you're taking this position. It's fundamentally not there. So, how would you respectfully say that gay people don't deserve to have equal rights in marriage? What is possibly respectful about that?
This position isn't worthy of respect.
It can't.
So in other words, there's nothing here that is worthy of respect.
And they feel the same way about us. They feel the exact same way.
Yeah, all the difference is that they're stupid and wrong.
Hi, this is John DeLynn from Logan, Utah, and I am a douchebag. You can comment on this episode on the website, infantsonthrones.com, and if you really like what you hear, give the Quorum a 5-star rating and write a short review on iTunes. I did. Anyone for the closing prayer?
Have you really, John?
I consider it a challenge before the whole human race, and I ain't gonna lose. We are the champions, my friend. And we'll keep on fighting till the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, 'cause we are the champions.
Thank you for listening to Infants on Thrones.